Sellout crowd number 220 in a row for the Bruins at TD Garden. Starting goalies brought to you by your New England Audi dealers. Experience the new Audi A3 with legendary Audi Quattro all-wheel drive today. Robin Lehner this season 3-0-1 and on the road just about perfect. A sub-2 goals against average. Tuukka Rask lifetime at home against Ottawa, a 1.69 goals against average, a 941 save percentage. Both teams have 12 points. Ottawa has 3 games in hand on the Bruins and thus is slotted ahead of them in the Atlantic Division standing. The game is on. The sign during the video tribute to Mayor Menino said no whining on his desk. That pretty well sums it up with the Boston Bruins right now.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the focus on that photo was on the Stanley Cup and the mayor, but you're right, the no whining really did jump out at you, didn't it?
Yeah. What kind of man he was, what kind of team the Bruins have to be this season. Milan Michalek flips the backhand down to the corner. Alex Chiasson, 3 years at Boston University and came over in the Spezza deal from Dallas. Kyle Turris over to Chris Phillips. Everybody wearing a single-digit number for Ottawa tonight was a first-round pick in the year of his entry draft. 9 first-rounders among the 18 skaters tonight for Ottawa. 7 of them went in the top 10 of their respective drafts.
Yeah, when you take a look at this Ottawa team, all their defensemen in the lineup tonight and their goaltender are homegrown.
Riley Smith off Erik Karlsson's stick. Chris Phillips wheels it to the boards, and Mark MacArthur feeds Bobby Ryan, who just signed a 7-year contract. Riley Smith up ahead to Brad Marchand. Marchand has to pull up against Patrick Wiercioch. MacArthur takes the hit to move the puck to Wiercioch, leaves it in the middle of the zone. Bergeron rings the post on a 40-foot turnaround shot, all in one motion. He saw it there and went for the gold.
Yeah, both Marchand and Riley Smith taking hits to make plays, and then Bergeron filling that high slot as the third man, the beneficiary of that loose puck, and he ripped it glove side.
And look at the energy in Seth Griffith's legs. He spoons it in past Wiercioch. It pops up off Cody Cece's stick. Here's Kelly's one-timer off Griffith's feet. Chris Neal going for a tumble along the boards. Kelly gets the puck to Lucic, to the dot to Griffith, feeds it in front for Kelly, and the Bruins are going to go on the power play as Wiercioch had no option but to hold Chris Kelly, who would have been in alone.
Good job along the wall again by the Bruins in the offensive zone to bring in some emotion and some battle factor. We'll go back to that post opportunity from Bergeron. You can see Marchand take the hit, Riley Smith takes the hit, but then they force the puck, they pressure the puck. Good stick by Marchand to help create this turnover. The overhead will show you just how close this goes to beating Lehner on the glove side. And then again, the work along the boards. Great job by not only Lucic, but Kelly as well. And that allows Griffith to make a play to Kelly, who rotates to the net.
Power play brought to you by Arbella. Here for Bruins fans. Here for good. Sens have allowed 4 power play goals in their last 4 games. Bruins 4 for 9 on the power play in their last 4 home games. Dougie Hamilton and Riley Smith out at the blue line. Louis Eriksson taps it down to the corner. Soderberg to Bergeron, but Lazar rides him off. Here's Eriksson stick handling in traffic. And the Bruins going to work with the puck pinned in Ottawa's end. Dribbler comes in front, but Lazar spanks it 200 feet.
Yeah, just a 2-4 record on home ice for Boston in their first 6. But it hasn't been special teams. Their power play at 33% in those games.
The world's upside down if you look at the last 3 years for that. Bergeron stick handling right in front for Eriksson, but Kreiber got a little bit of a stick on it. Now Chiasson chases the puck. Hamilton's wrist shot into Phillips's legs, and Michalek drills it all the way down onto Rask.
A couple almost the power play already. Eriksson took a nice pass from Bergeron. I'm not sure if he saw it until it was on top of him.
David Warsofsky long interrupt from Marchand. He gains the zone. Tries to chop it past Cece, but the Ottawa defenseman muscles it out. Hammers it cross ice. Still more than 3/4 of a minute to go on the Boston power play. Milan Lucic has speed, goes right at Ceci, gives it off to Marchand. Marchand has Griffith nearby, gives to Trotman. The wrist shot knocked down. Smith breaks his stick, so it's 5 on 3.5, and a lucky break for Ottawa as the puck goes off a stick up out of play.
Well, Bergeron's going to hang on to the puck. The last opportunity that Boston had prior to this good stick deflection by the Senators, because they were in trouble. Bergeron just kind of hanging on to it. He's trying to figure out, do I have the back diagonal to the left point, or do I have a better option closer to the goal? And the better option was that little pump fake as if he was going to shoot it and then zip it across to Eriksson. Eriksson just couldn't handle it.
Lucic tossed out of the draw. David Legwand wins it away from Marchand. Trotman along the line. Warsofsky's quick release. Phillips with the block. Warsofsky's pass, double deflection to the corner. Marchand the tap past Gryba. Warsofsky takes Lucic's pass out of the corner. Griffith tries to saucer it over MacArthur's stick, can't do it. MacArthur into the middle to Legwand. Legwand carefully up to the red line. And now he comes cross ice for MacArthur. MacArthur spins back into the eddy of the flow, sends it up the boards, and that'll kill off the penalty to Wierkosh. The Bruins without a shot on goal during the power play.
Well, the power play's winding down, and Warsofsky wants to get a puck on goal, but there was really no Bruin in front of the net. That's an easy shot block. They get it back, and then Griffith is reminded how quickly things happen at the NHL level when you get pressured.
Bruins spent 1:13 in the zone. And as Brick said, a couple of almost. Kyle Turris out of the left to Mark Stone. Back to Turris, scoots all the way through. Stone with a shot and a save by Rask. Stone had a beautiful 1-2 combination with Mike Hoffman against the Chicago Blackhawks for the opening goal of the game in Ottawa a couple of nights ago. Simon Gagne, Gregory Campbell fires it right on Leonard. Seidenberg's shot busts through the stick of McCulloch, and Stone does not connect on the pass up ice.
Third good shot block by the Senators here in the first 5 minutes. Maybe fourth.
As Bobby Ryan's still on the Senators bench, because he usually takes that turn with Turris and MacArthur. We wonder if it's just for one shift or if Ryan has an issue. Gryba can't clear the zone. Kelly throws it across the middle. Griffith after it with Wierkosh on his back. Morrow to McQuaid, the wrist shot. Lucic fell down, gets up and flicks it on Leonard. Here's Kelly trying to scrape it forward. Lucic muscles it. Lucic in a terrific battle with Gryba, who's a very physical player. And Lucic, of course, didn't fall down on his own. Griffith down the right wing boards, gets all the way to the corner. Wierkosh tries to put the body on him. Griffith gets it back, but Zach Smith away with the puck. Smith working against Matt Fraser. Fraser goes hard into the Zamboni doors, and the glass sways backward. Chiasson, good hands along the kick plate, picks it off, zips it back to Phillips. He looks to the right to the captain, Carlson. McCulloch's shot punched out by Rask. The rebound hops right over Zibanejad's stick. Chiasson going for a big hit, left his feet on the follow-through and ended up smacking pretty hard into the glass.
McCulloch came off the Ottawa bench, Jack. That's why nobody was in coverage. Good battle down low, the steal below the goal line, and when they work the puck out towards that right point, McCulloch's coming right off the bench, right down the middle of the ice, wide open.
Phillips D to Erik Karlsson, a spectacular skater and a dynamic attacking defenseman. David Warsofsky around through the corner, Marchand to Bergeron. Bergeron flips into the center circle to Eriksson. Trotman takes a big hit from Lazar to get the puck in deep. Bergeron, the angle against Hoffman. Stone gives it back to Karlsson. Karlsson off the kick plate, right at the red line. Bergeron, hard around, out of the defensive zone. Cowan pitches in to hit Smith, and the Bruins lose possession. Bobby Ryan is still in the building, so
yeah, the minute you mentioned
he's on the ice right now.
Yeah, the minute you mentioned it, he did a quick countdown on the bench, and they had 12 skaters with everybody else on the ice. So, but just to finish that thought though, on the construction of the Ottawa Senators, we've mentioned the homegrown, all 6D, their goaltenders, 6 of their 12 forwards, and the guys that were acquired. To your point, a number of them were first-round picks by other teams. The only two that weren't, Chiasson and MacArthur.
Gagne with a good hit against Cowan. Gives it up the wall, and Ryan bounces it across the spoke beat. Dougie Hamilton fires wide of the stick side of Leonard. Gagne slings it off the end boards. Paille collects in his skates, chops it ahead for Campbell. Campbell indirect for Hamilton. Good play with the feet, lobs it toward goal. Leonard controls it with the blocker. Paille patient along the boards. Gagne in his skates, goes off the back wall for Campbell. Campbell holds, looks for something in front, throws it off the pads to get the rebound, and he gets it. But Turris skates out of the pack. A tripping call coming against the Bruins. The Bruins are saying he just stepped on a stick. Referee Steve Kazari doesn't see it that way. 12:04 to go in the first. Ottawa on the power play when the game resumes.
Well, that's some pretty good pressure by the Bruins' fourth line where they transfer the puck side to side and then try to make a play tight to the net. Gagne in a little reach back. Turris, because the sticks of both Campbell and Gagne are in Turris' skates. Although it didn't look like a trip. It looked like a trip on the ice. Bruins shorthanded.
Erik Karlsson, alone at the blue line, has 4 power play assists. Clark MacArthur and Alex Chiasson are the leading power play goal scorers to date for Ottawa with 3 apiece. Here's Karlsson. He'll be all over the place, throws it off Turris' legs. Kelly strong on the stick, preventing Stone from getting possession, and that helps get the puck out.
Exactly right. He didn't have to win that battle to possess the puck. Just don't let Stone get it.
Karlsson off of Kelly's skates and back inside the Ottawa zone. Turris swings to the right, Legwand on the left, and Karlsson goes ahead with the puck. Turris dishes to MacArthur, to Legwand over the line. Karlsson bunts it over to Turris, slings it cross corner, too far forward for Mark Stone. Seidenberg up but not out. Karlsson to Turris, cross ice looking for Stone, cutting off the boards. MacArthur taps to the end wall. Legwand to Stone, off a stick, and it comes through to Turris. Stick position so important, as you've heard Brick say so many dozens of times. Legwand back to Turris, cross ice. Karlsson, great puck movement from Ottawa. Turris has a lane, the drive, and Kelly with the stick block, and he snapped the stick. You could hear it. It wasn't in 2 pieces yet, so he didn't want to drop it.
Yeah, body position, stick position by the penalty killers, and even though Ottawa was trying to move that puck quickly and create some seam pass, the Bruins were well positioned.
Bergeron takes the errant pass, flips it out to center. Marchand bumps Turris off stride, does it again. Marchand closes, wheels at the dot, rags the puck a little, finds McQuaid cross ice. McQuaid taps to the end boards, and the Bruins get some attacking zone time during the shorthand. Not so much to make an effort on goal unless Ottawa makes a mistake, but rather than to keep the puck 200 feet from where the Sens want it. And McQuaid clears it the length of the rink. 15 seconds to go on Simon Gagne's tripping penalty. Patrick Wierkosh, who is really good with the puck on his stick. McCulloch gets it loose on the end boards. Ryan slings it around, and it sizzles all the way back to the Ottawa zone. 1 shot on goal for Ottawa during the power play. Daniel Paille picks up the puck in the neutral zone. Phillips over to Ceci, tries to go up the middle, and Paille gets a piece of it. Phillips takes the puck and rushes with it. Here's Mike Hoffman, who's really quick. Sends it back out to Lazar. Stone off of Trotman's stick. It rattles around far side. Paille with the shoulder, but here's Ceci setting up. Over to Phillips. The blast tipped in front as Lazar got the redirection on it. Ceci knocks it down. He'll keep possession in the neutral zone.
Pretty good puck movement and speed by the Ottawa Senators, spreading out the Bruins in the defensive zone.
Lazar flips the backhand down the boards. Trotman catches it right away. Joe Morrow tosses ahead to Matt Fraser, bounces it over to Soderberg for Fraser. The backhand and a save by Leonard. Soderberg making the feed in the tightest of lanes, and Matt Fraser getting a good effort on goal. The Bruins have had, as Rick said, a lot of almosts.
No score first period. Both teams have had a power play opportunity. The Bruins penalty killing, getting the job done. Chris Kelly in particular did a nice job on Stone to prevent him from getting possession. He and his tandem can clear the puck out, and then his body position, stick position, One of the best at it for the Bruins when you're talking about the defensive side of the game. Chris Kelly with another good shot block, broke his stick as a result, but doing the job.
First broken stick in the run of play for Kelly this season, but he's usually among the team leaders, especially per minute on the ice, because he's always involved in battles and blocks and situations just like the one Brick illustrated. McQuaid taps away from Zach Smith. Legwand tries to fling it into the middle. McQuaid sees the big hit coming from Chris Neal, who's playing in his 81st lifetime game against Boston. Fraser on the receiving end of a big hit, and the Bruins are bottled up in their own end. Facing the two-man forecheck, and Morrow beats it with skating. Up ahead to Soderberg, flips it high for Fraser. He grabs it and brings it down on the left wing board. Eriksson back of the goal. Eriksson works it to Soderberg. The quick pivot finds some space along the boards. Holds, throws it off the legs of Cowan, who followed him all the way around the zone. Cowan indirect for Greiber. The pass offline for Smith behind him. Trotman wants to hammer it in deep. Cowan gets it back to center, and on the second try, Trotman sends it around. Matt Fraser gets the skates on it. Griffith pokes it back to Hamilton. The wrist shot tipped by Kelly in front, just past the stick side post. Warsofsky hammers it across the slot. The Bruins buzzing around the Ottawa net, everything but getting it between the posts. Ryan in front for Turris. Didn't hit the bouncer on contact with the ice, and so he whiffs on it. Kelly muscles it across the line. Lucic had to come to a complete stop, couldn't recover quickly enough. MacArthur tries a self-pass. Rask fields it, flips it into Ryan, skates right in front, too far forward for Turris. Hamilton up but not out. Phillips a slap pass low for Turris, but Kelly's right on him. Hamilton looks off Ryan and has a free out as Turris is at the blue line, and the Bruins will change as well.
Exactly. The communication there. Chris Kelly saying, I need to go for a change. If you want to hang on to that puck, Dougie, hang on to it till we get off.
This will be icing as Seidenberg's behind the red line. Matt Fraser's been involved.
Well, David Krejci unable to go tonight. Matt Fraser gets back in the lineup. He's only had a couple of shifts, 3 I think to be exact, here in the first period because of some special teams play. But it did a nice job in his first shift on the back check. Hard, took the body. The follow-up shift, speed through the neutral zone, get that puck wide and have a good net drive, and he gets a good chance on the backhand.
Fraser's played a minute and 47 according to the official second-by-second stats. Ceci off the boards. Smith, Marchand, and Smith was half a step ahead of the puck as it entered the zone. Brian Murphy, the linesman, on the goal. Well, Julian's Bruins, believe it or not, have won 2 out of 3 and 4 out of their last 6. But style points matter a lot with this team and with this coach. And it's not just the winning, but how they're playing. No one's satisfied with the 6-6 October.
Yeah, well, you think about the 2 of the most recent losses in that 4 out of 6 that they've won. I mean, the Islander game, they did nothing for 2 periods and they were dominant in the third. But it was the Wild game, I think, that really got under everybody's skin. Coaches, players, fans. You got a 3-1 lead, and even though the game really wasn't a 3-1 game, third period, you got to win that hockey.
Warsofsky with the deke. Pye jams at the post. David Warsofsky, plenty of confidence with the puck on his stick, making a terrific move out at the point and getting off a low far side shot that produced a rebound. Playing with a purpose. Trotman off Paye's backhand. Legwand knocks it forward. Morrow to Campbell. Campbell tries the high diagonal. It's off Zach Smith's stick. Louis Eriksson patient because the Bruins are in the middle of a change and it would have been high sticking and Ottawa had the next touch. Fraser walks in and Leonard comes off his line to break down the angle. 6'5" Jared Cowan with a big hit on Fraser, but the Bruins keep possession. Morrow's one-timer sizzles wide on the glove side. McQuaid jumps up on the play, and Morrow will try to get away from Chris Neal.
What a nice little rush by Fraser, a little pump fake, and then he moved to the outside, walked in.
Cowan with an unusual move to block the puck with his thighs, getting down on his knees as It looked as if it was going to bounce short of him. Almost like a goalie going down to the butterfly without the leg extensions. Eriksson taps back to Morrow. Morrow takes the space, goes through the seam and hits Soderberg, working against Phillips. Soderberg turns out of the corner, brings it up high for Morrow. Good back pressure from Neal prevents Morrow from getting comfortable. MacArthur slides the puck back to Chris Phillips. Phillips in his 17th season. #1 overall pick in the entry draft in 1996. Chris Kelly for Hamilton all the way around to Seidenberg. Remember when number 56 in 1996? It's a guy who wears number 33 for Boston. Lucic working out of the corner. Hamilton's wrist shot into Turris's skates. Flips ahead to McCulloch. McCulloch tosses the puck off the boards, and Seidenberg takes it as Ottawa will change out.
Okay, I'll give the Senators credit for blocking shots, but the Bruins can do a better job of getting some shots through, a little bit more lateral movement like Warsawski did.
Carlson tries to quick up the boards. It's off Marchand, skates to Bergeron to Marchand. Marchand deking on Carlson and using the Bergeron pick, brings it back to McQuaid. McQuaid wrists it off McCulloch's legs. Now he's got to recover as Chiasson picks up the puck. Smith gets his stick in the passing lane. Chiasson with possession back for the Senators. Both teams will change out as Erik Karlsson stands still with the puck and waits. Lazar swinging right, and Phillips on the left. Karlsson scales it to the corner. Rask nudges for McQuaid, tries to go D to D. Simon Gagne's there as insurance. Paille gets a piece of the puck, but that'll be icing against Boston. Force trivia question of the day. Who ranks second among active players in penalty minutes behind Ottawa's Chris Neal? Visit NESN.com/TheFours for the answer and enter to win a $50 gift certificate that can be used at the Fours Restaurant and Sports Bar in Boston, Quincy, or Norwell.
Chris Neal averages the fewest minutes time on ice for the Ottawa Senators. He leads them in hits.
4 times a 200 penalty minute man, including last season. 4 times a 10-goal scorer. As Sean Thornton has said of players like himself, hey, we can play. Warsawski works his way out of danger and finds McQuaid diagonally through the defensive zone to Campbell. Campbell tosses the puck off the boards. There goes Fraser with speed to the end wall to win it against Phillips. Turris in support, but Eriksson nudges to Fraser. Back to Eriksson. Eriksson with a dribbling puck over to Hamilton along the line. Seidenberg indirect, going off the end boards, trying a billiard shot in front, but it hits the apron. Neal off the back of Zach Smith's skates. Hamilton. Seidenberg wires it in. It's high off glass. Karlsson controls, flips the backhand. It's off of Griffith's stick into the middle, but Neal rescues the puck. Zach Smith hoists a tumbler off the dasher and squirts away from Trotman. Legwand off the boards to Ceci, very quick off the wall, rifles it wide on the glove side of Rask. Neal right in front. Legwand to Ceci, loads up the drive, and what a save by Rask! Tuukka Rask with the extension to the right pad and the blocker to rob Cody Ceci, who got a lot on that one and got it to a low corner. Milan Lucic breaking back 3-on-2. What a sequence this could be. Kelly for Lucic, the one-timer saved by Leonard. He pops the rebound up in the circle. Goalies sparkling at both ends.
Save at each end. The first one by Tuukka Rask on a drive. Soderberg got caught playing on a different line combination, and you don't have the luxury of playing with Kelly tonight, who does a lot of the low work in your own zone.
Rask covers the puck. End-to-end action at TD Garden on this night when the Bruins and the entire city honor the late Tom Menino.
Just 4 shots for the Ottawa Senators here in period number 1, but 2 of the chances or two of the shots were quality scoring chances. You'd have to put this one in that category. The drive from Ceci at the right point, a little bit of traffic, good lateral movement. Rask got to track it well, extend that right pad. The Bruins, the sequence up ice following the save by Rask. Well executed 3-on-2. Lucic with the one-timer. Leonard made a nice move right to left to keep this a scoreless hockey game.
Riley Smith over the center dot. Flips it toward Leonard. He bangs it off the end boards. Bergeron wins the race to the puck, throws it in front, but it's off the stick of Bobby Ryan, up and out of play.
Yeah, the Bruins got a post Bergeron earlier in the period on a good forecheck. The Lucic chance that we just showed you. The Bruins out shooting Ottawa 9-4. Both teams have had a power play opportunity. But the Bruins have been pretty good defensively, keeping things mostly to the perimeter. We mentioned McCulloch walking in right down the middle on a line change. Nobody picked him up. Nobody saw him coming through the neutral zone. What was really the CC shot, McCulloch chance, the only real quality scoring chances by the center.
Bergeron, Smith, Marchand with McQuaid and Morrow. Marchand scores! A clean draw to the shooter, and Brad Marchand is hot. 3 goals in 2 games.
The best 2 face-off men for the Boston Bruins are Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci. Krejci out of the lineup tonight, but Bergeron wins this one clean. You got to hope your goaltender can make some stops, because when you win a face-off this clean, if you don't get in the shot block, then your goaltender's got to get enough of it to keep it out of the net. But it's a good release by Marchand. Little moving screen perhaps with Riley Smith trying to get to the front of the net. Ottawa has blocked a lot of shots from the point here in the first period. Can't get in the way of that quick release by Marchand. He did have time to kind of just dust it off a little bit, but the snapshot had enough on it to get through Leonard to give the Bruins the lead.
All right, SAT question here. Buffalo's Thomas Vanek, when he was with Buffalo, is to Boston, as Boston's Brad Marchand is to the Ottawa Senators. 7 points in his last 5 games against the Sens, including tonight.
It's been a while since I took an SAT.
How'd you do? Good enough. Got you into UNH.
Goal scoring by number 63, Brad Marchand. Assisted by number 37, Patrice Bergeron.
Throws the puck through his teammates and he rolls all the way.
4th goal of the season for Brad Marchand, assisted by Patrice Bergeron at 18:54.
The announcement on the goal and another look at it.
Now, Ottawa's not a strong face-off team, and I know Billy Jeffrey was talking about in the beginning of the pregame show, saying the Bruins should dominate at the center position tonight, and then it was amended a little bit because of the absence of Krejci, but they score with the result of winning a face-off in the offensive zone.
Hamilton with a hummer from the point, but here's a 2-on-1 break. Stone with Hoffman. Stone dinks and scores! Nudged it between the glove side skate and the post, and Tuukka Rask is mighty upset at himself.
Giving a little assist to the linesman here. When this puck's in the offensive zone, Dennis Seidenberg really has an easy play to keep this puck deep in the offensive end. Now the linesman gets in the way, and that's an advantage. Stone coming with speed, able to just tap that puck by Seidenberg. Now here's your 2-on-1. Hamilton defended pretty well and kept that play to the outside, and I was wondering if that post was off its mooring when that puck snuck in there.
Well, the phone hasn't rung.
Nope.
And on they go. 38 seconds between goals. So an emphatic answer from Ottawa, whether or not it came because of a break. And Stone has a couple in his last 2 games, showing a lot of promise. Carlson goes underneath Marchand. Bergeron can't pick up the centering pass. 5 seconds to go. Gorsovsky hammers it. Chiasson goes down, and the siren sounds to end the first period. End-to-end action, and 2 goals in 38 seconds of hockey in the final minute and 6 of the period.
Well, we talked about the Bruins and their identity, especially here on home ice, where they control pace of game. They own the middle of the ice. They limit quality scoring chances. A lot of that was on display here in the opening 20. They get the lead, which they've done a number of times this year. I think it's, what, 8-13 now? and a tough break at the end of the period. I know that's been an area of concern for some time, how you manage the final minute, 2 minutes of each period, but that was a tough break with the linesman disrupting the play by Seidenberg, and Stone cashes in to tie it.
Pretty good division battle on our hands, Dale. Brad Marchand and Mark Stone. Stone, 22 years old. He's had a couple of cups of coffee. He's only played 27 NHL games coming into this season. But as you saw, he's got the finishing touch. He scored a nice one on a give and go with Mike Hoffman in the first period against Chicago on Thursday night. Soderberg and Zibanejad on the face-off to begin the second period. Joe Morrow rattles it around the glass. Jared Cowan in the corner. Zibanejad coming below the dot, hits Chiasson with the long diagonal. He tosses it into Morrow's corner, hooks it nicely, gets away with it. Fraser works his way out of the Boston zone. Fraser sliding down Cowan's side, hits the brakes, throws it off Cowan's skates. Louis Eriksson takes a big hit from Greiva and tips it to the near side. Zibanejad to Cowan, back under Zibanejad's stick. Chiasson flips it through the corner. Seidenberg to Fraser. He'll dump it to the Ottawa line, not where you want to turn it over. The Bruins almost get caught in a change, but the defense stays in place. MacArthur the backhand, short side, and Rask holds the post. Ryan with a big hit. Phillips can't handle the cross ice skipping pass on the new ice. Erik Karlsson. Riley Smith shutting down his space. Trotman steps up to force the puck back into the Ottawa zone. Delayed offside against the Bruins. They tag up and they can pursue the puck inside the line again. Turris wheels around Marchand. Smith with back pressure to take the puck away, tries to trickle it cross ice. Ryan fires it off the back wall. Trotman past Warsofsky, and he'll speed it out of the Boston zone. David Warsofsky rushing to the red line. He cuts off the rush, and the Bruins will get a clean change. Kelly centering Griffith and Lucic. Wiercioch off the back of Kelly's legs. Griffith to Lucic. Slides it in deep. Legwine can't get it cleanly past Kelly, but Neal takes it. He fires it off Lucic. Wiercioch banks it out of the zone. Zach Smith to Legwine. Marchand intercepts. Doesn't connect with Kelly. Wiercioch turning out of the corner. Kelly fights it away from him with help from Lucic. Zach Smith to Chris Neal, wide to Cody Ceci, the defenseman to the hash marks, fires on Rask. He makes the stop. Dougie Hamilton with a couple of quick steps as Seidenberg seals off Ceci with a check on the end board. Hamilton gets it through, but Smith has the jump on Lucic. Kelly off glass. That'll be icing against Boston.
The Boston Bruins Foundation is auctioning off Brad Marchand, Louis Eriksson, Dennis Seidenberg, and other Bruins players' autographed Hockey Fights cancer jerseys. They were worn during Tuesday's pregame warm-up. To place your bid, head to auctions.nhl.com. Bidding closes Friday at 5 p.m. Proceeds will help benefit the Boston Bruins Foundation.
Seidenberg wobbles it through the neutral zone. Greiva trying to bleed an icing call out of that, not coming. D to Cowan. He goes north and south now. Hoffman, 5'11", about 185 pounds, very quick. This is icing, and the face-off down to the Ottawa end. Neither team with much rhythm in the first few minutes of the second period.
You know, we didn't talk about it a whole lot, but another thing I liked about that first period, Jack, I didn't notice that Karlsson kid
right
for Ottawa in that first period.
Anytime they can take his space away,
right,
that's a plus.
And make him play in his own zone.
He did win a Norris Trophy. Where one would think that he had to spend a significant amount of time playing in his defensive zone. I do go on, don't I?
Yeah, he's always on your short list of candidates for the Norris, isn't he?
Yeah, right. And Campbell can't receive the cross ice pass from Warsofsky. There's Carlson right on cue, 3-on-1. Carlson, and a blocker save by Tuukka Rask. That was a mighty big save. Carlson had it picked inside the post, but Rask took it away. Chiasson right back into the Boston zone, tries to swivel the backhand. Warsofsky chops it up the wall. This is kind of on him, so Gilt being a powerful motivator. It was Warsofsky's cross-ice pass that led to the Carlson pickoff.
Yeah, really 4 minutes into this period, the Bruins already have had probably more turnovers in this period than maybe all of the first. Just chipping pucks to nowhere out the neutral zone, and then in the offensive end trying to force a play that's not there. That led to a 3-on-1 with maybe the most dangerous player taking the shot.
Soderberg up the boards. Phillips takes it away. Lugs it out. Now here's Turris. 3-on-2. But Fraser's back pressure deflects the puck over the glass.
Now the Bruins are in attack mode. The little drop pass by Paille, and Carlson's just reading. He's reading pass all the way. He's not going to get in the shooting lane. He's not going to look to block a shot. He's going to read. If I can make a steal, that's my best play. And the Bruins fall right into that trap. He makes the steal. Off they go. Transition 3-on-1. Rask made the save look pretty easy.
Morrow at his own line. There it is again. Young defenseman making a long diagonal pass, and Cody Ceci gains entry. Rask has to make a nice save.
Vote for the Amica Coverage Play of the Week and enter to win a $100 gift certificate to the Pro Shop here at TD Garden, courtesy of NESN. Enter now at NESN.com/Amica Coverage Can.
Ottawa has the last 5 consecutive shots on goal in this game.
Turnovers.
Riley Smith over the spoked B. Clatters it off the corner boards. Leonard spanks it right back in that direction. McQuaid chops it over for Marchand. He whacks the backhand off the boards. Greiba past Bergeron, but Marchand is there. Fakes the pass, throws it right in front for the cutting Smith. And Greiba is there to break it up. David Legwand against the grain. Zach Smith works it up ice, 3-on-4. Smith's shot, a blocker stopped by Rask. Lucic on the turn. Chris Kelly, the tap back to Lucic, back to Kelly, walks in, saved by Leonard. End-to-end action at TD Garden, and here comes Carlson, trading rush for rush, cross ice. It hops over Michalik's stick, and Trotman blacks the puck off the end boards. Griffith wide. Lucic strong on the stick to rob Chiasson of a bid. Chiasson pirouettes in his own zone.
Nice work through the neutral zone between Lucic and Kelly. Led to an unbelievable opportunity for Chris Kelly. Got robbed by Leonard.
Alex Chiasson setting the edges. Warsofsky drives him to the end boards. Campbell hammers it cross ice off the kick plate ahead of Kanye. Phillips looks for a quick up. Carlson waiting way ahead of the puck. Saved by Rask, denying MacArthur from the high slot. 13:47 to go, second period. 1-1 the Bruins and the Ottawa Senators.
On Bruins Face Off Live, we introduce tonight's mobile Bruins poll presented by the new Scion TC. What type of defenseman should win the Norris Trophy? Reply A for an offensive defenseman, B for a defensive defenseman, or C for a mix of both offense and defense. Text your answer to 536-536. Message and data rates may apply. Text HELP for info and visit NESN.com/terms for terms and conditions and privacy policy.
Well, let me read the definition of the Norris Trophy. The James Norris Memorial Trophy, presented each year to the defense player who demonstrates throughout the season the greatest all-around ability at the position. So I ask you, would Phil Kessel, in the final minute of a one-goal game, rather be facing Erik Karlsson or Zdeno Chara? Erik Karlsson or Duncan Keith? Erik Karlsson or Shea Weber? Cody Ceci, high slot. Hoffman redirects it wide. Seidenberg flips up to the blue line. CC gloves it down. Bergeron, the backhand to Smith in the seam. He busts through all the way down and can't finish the backhand. The goal comes off its pegs as Smith hit the netting. He scored himself, but couldn't bring the puck with him.
Everything but the finish. Great explosion through the neutral zone. He knows he's got to really keep that puck out in front of him. 3 Ottawa Senators all trying to get back. And he sells the move to the forehand to Leonard. He wants to pull his puck back quickly to the backhand and just can't maintain puck possession. Trips over the goal stick of Leonard, but the officials felt that he's the one that knocked the net off the mooring, and therefore the face-off in the neutral zone.
2 goals for Riley Smith this year, but none in the last 7 games. Simon Gagne from the hash marks, wide glove side, Robin Leonard. Zach Smith can't chop and pass, Trotman along the boards. Gagne and Paille on the 2-man forecheck against Smith. Paille battling against Cowan, who clubs the puck to the near side. Dryba tries to jam it up the wall against Campbell. Now Paille flies in and wreaks a little havoc. Campbell with a stick lift in the centering pass, but Cowan takes the puck away. Finally, David Legwand gets it out to the red line off Chris Neal's skates. Orsovsky backs in against Legwand and slides it off the end boards to Trotman. Zach Trotman with speed makes the cut, goes over the spoke B, gains the line, gives to Paille on the backhand. Trotman's tip just wide of the post. Leonard had it sealed off though. Campbell turning and firing back toward Trotman. The Bruins weren't changing off their bench because they were the only ones that saw it. Trotman didn't. They were calling to him.
Well, Trotman took ice that was available to him. Bad change by Chris Neal after he just kind of floated by Trotman.
Erickson looking for Soderberg. Phillips is there. McQuaid's shot well wide. Morrow can't get it past Chiasson. He wiggles it out through the neutral zone. Bruins with a better stretch of possession here and finding some seams in the Ottawa defense. This is icing as the redirection came from just behind the red line.
The Bruins with a couple of real good opportunities here in the second period after they've started managing the puck a little bit better. I mean, this is just the classic give and go between 2 players through the neutral zone, creating 2-on-1s. That was Kelly and Lucic. Leads to a good chance by Kelly. Trotman gets his feet moving. He's a good skater, can carry the puck. We know he's got a good shot, but he just explodes out of the defensive zone and leads to another good chance up ice.
Bobby Ryan gets rid of the puck before Adam McQuaid blots out the sun. Carlson snap pass to MacArthur, turns and fires off Soderberg's stick, and McQuaid knocks it to the corner. MacArthur, Ryan, McQuaid bangs him. Ryan strong in his skates. Cowan along the line to Carlson. Quick movement, but the diagonal is behind Ryan. He pursues it on 2 bounces. McQuaid and Ryan both go down. A couple of big, strong boys down in the corner. Soderberg fighting after the puck, and he gets green lighted by Ryan. Took out his frustration on the Bruin.
That's good help by Soderberg, though, down low. That's his responsibility, not playing with Chris Kelly, who's going to get a little low work in the defensive end. You got to take those hits to lend support.
Cowan rattles it through the corner. Seidenberg sweeps the backhand to Lucic. The touch pass, a nice reach to control by Kelly. Sends Griffith up the off wing. Griffith waits, looks for a timing play. Off the deflection, Lucic can't get to it, but Phillips can't clear. Seidenberg rams it off Lazar's legs. Here's Kelly sweeping up to the half boards, leaves it on the wall. Stone swivels, gives it away. Bad place to turn the puck over, and Seidenberg goes corner. Stone up to the hash marks. Lucic takes it away this time. Stone tries a 3rd time. Hoffman can't clear the zone. Hamilton in front. The save by Leonard. He kicks it past Kelly. Lazar works it up the wing against Seidenberg. Drops off to Hoffman. Tries to wheel it middle. Seidenberg knocks it loose. Lazar. Bergeron takes the puck away. Cowan tries to hold it in at the line. Griffith nearly with the break. Bergeron with the net drive. Lucic can't get it in front. Griffith holds it. Zibanejad bangs him. Griffith in direct to McQuaid. Marchand racing down the slot as Bergeron takes the puck off the wall. Bergeron to Marchand in the wide cycle. The diagonal for Morrow. The puck explodes over his stick and rolls away, but he stays with it. Smith angling to the dot, and he slides the backhand wide glove side. Marchand, who's been all over the attacking zone, gets it through to Smith. He couldn't pull it inside the post. Amazing work by Riley Smith to try to get a hold of that puck and control it for a moment, even though it was behind him.
That is a classic cycling offense by that line. Great puck possession and chances.
Zibanejad into Tuukka Rask's gut. 9:07 to go, second period. 30-second break. And a quick look at the Marchand game winner from the other night.
Leary, Lenny Clark, Jimmy Fallon, and more.
Well, when Marchand was flying off the half boards and going semi-recklessly into seams, a lot of good things tend to happen for the Bruins.
Can't say it enough, Jag. When Marchand drives people off, and then in order to get that separation, has that explosive first stride to create different angles to pass the puck or shoot the puck, he's a different player. He's far more effective, he's far more dynamic, and he's far more dangerous. And that's what he's doing lately.
There's been a lot of hockey played between then and now, but one can't help but go back to Game 7 against Vancouver in 2011. Marchand winning a race for what would have been icing back when you had to touch the puck for icing. Coming off the half boards, setting up Bergeron. Unlimited energy that he had that night when he is playing at his very best. That's what you get. And fitting that he got the empty netter that convinced even the shift-by-shift Bruins that they were going to win the Stanley Cup. It's a classic moment. Classic moment from the DVD. Eriksson and Karlsson. Karlsson off Eriksson's stick. Soderberg to Eriksson in front. Fraser scores! The forecheck gives Ottawa fits, and the Bruins are back on top.
Stick position again, even though Karlsson was the one-on-one battle with Eriksson initially. Trying to make that first pass from out of your own zone, and the Bruins get stick position in order to create the turnover. The long distance play through the neutral zone, that gets the puck up ice. But the stick position by Eriksson, the good shot by Soderberg with a purpose. He's looking for a redirect by Eriksson, gets a piece of it. And Matt Fraser, who's been good tonight, this is the best he's skated all year long. Something we try to show you in the first period, that he was involved in the game, quick on the back check, physical on the back check, up ice, had a backhand chance on a good net drive. And there he is as the third man, well positioned, getting up the ice, gets the rebound chance to give the Bruins the lead.
Joe Morrow wearing Chiasson. Adam McQuaid shoves the backhand around to the near side. Morrow so quick to the puck. Lucic battling drive, a good support from McCulloch at the blue line to keep the puck in the attacking zone for Ottawa. The Senators answered the Bruins' first goal tonight 38 seconds later with the tying goal, and they're upping the energy here in an attempt to get it back tied again. Lucic and Chiasson. Lucic chops it out to center. Greiba hammers it around the corner.
Well, these are not uncharted waters for the Ottawa Senators. 7 of their 9 games, 1 goal game.
And they have made a living by coming from behind this year. Hoffman alone on the offside. The shot. Orsovsky getting a piece. Rask might have as well, and I thought I heard it hit something that went click.
Do you want to have the best backyard rink in town? Enter to win the Ultimate Backyard Rink Sweepstakes presented by Arbella Insurance by visiting NESN.com/backyardrink, and you can win a backyard rink kit from the experts at the Ultimate Outdoor Ring. They leave a company house to help set it up. Visit NESN.com/backyardrink today for your chance to win.
Fraser's first of the year from Eriksson and Soderberg at 11:14 of the second period. Stone flips it wide. The redirection in front from Lazar, and Rask holds the post on the rebound attempt by Stone. Orsovsky shields the puck from Lazar. Trotman cross ice, dangerous pass, but Soderberg bunts it to space to Fraser. He scores! 2 goals in a .28. I think Matt Fraser wants to play some more.
Nobody likes sitting out. And Erik Karlsson's trying to snip in the offensive zone and make the steal. He made that steal on Warsofsky back in the first period, and this is the way he plays. And if he doesn't steal this puck, what does he do? He gives up a 2-on-1. What a heads-up pass by Soderberg. Just lay that puck into space, allow Fraser to skate into it. And everybody talks about Fraser and his NHL shot. It's his best asset. We've just seen it twice here in the second period. And that was a bullet to the glove side. Good first pass, the cheating Karlsson. Trotman zips it up. Soderberg lays it into space. Two very different types of passes. A bullet on a seam pass coming out of the zone, and then a soft pass into an area to allow a teammate to skate into it.
Funny bounce, and Phillips has to chase it back. I don't know if it's being said aloud on the Boston bench, but a 2-goal lead at home.
Boston goal scored by number 25.
Got to be determined to a man if there's going to be a different outcome than there was against Minnesota. Phillips' shot. Gagne sticking it out of the slot. Neal working against Gagne on the end boards. Morrow tries to rake it out of their skates. Now stabs at it. Neal muscles Gagne off. Turris gets the return from Ceci. Wrists it off of Morrow's legs. Paille takes the puck unopposed. Cody Ceci, D-to-D to Jared Cowan. Straight to the cutting Turris. MacArthur can't get it through the layers. Bergeron up to Smith. He's got Marchand on his left, breaking 2-on-2. Cowan and Karlsson. A shot by Smith and a save by Leonard. Bergeron takes the pass, drops the shoulder, and knocks Cowan backward. Marchand flips the pass to Seidenberg. Tough one to handle. He kept it inside the line for a moment. MacArthur going wide against Hamilton, wrists it around through the corner. Ryan jamming down, gets past Marchand and Seidenberg. Karlsson can't control MacArthur's hot pass. Erik Karlsson, the long diagonal for Mika Zibanejad. He drops it off. Ryan's shot, rather McCulloch's shot, and a shoulder save by Rask. Seidenberg this way and that. Loses McCollum.
Sometimes I do that with my 6 and 9 iron.
You think it's one, it ends up being the other, huh? Chiasson, little circus move, controlling between the skates and coming out the other side. Phillips does not connect with McCulloch. Rask will play it. He slides it out to Lucic past Chiasson. Now here's Kelly. Fake the drop pass. He wrists it down into the corner. Lucic holds off Lazar. Lucic banks the pass for Trotman, who has to turn and take it on the backhand. Wrists it into the pile. Comes through the grip, but Lucic jams at it. Kelly with the reach controls. Trotman loads up. Kelly's one-timer saved by Leonard. The Bruins with energy and delivering the goods. 23-year-old Matt Fraser scores 2 in a minute and 28. It's 3-1.
Matt Fraser goals have given the Bruins a 3-1 lead. So much to like about the first goal that he scored. And we talk about stick position all the time. Chris Kelly with that stick in a real good spot. Soderberg's going to stop on the puck. Bergeron, who is on the ice for the face-off in his own zone, makes the line change. And who comes on the ice? Matt Fraser. And he's a perfect spot as a third man to jump on that loose puck. But stick position by Eriksson. Stopping where he should stop by Soderberg. A purposeful shot on goal. And a quality third man after a great face-off win back in the defensive zone. And that's why Bergeron was on the ice.
Phillips off the kick plate to Chris Neal. He loops it for Warsofsky's corner, but the play is offside.
Jack, you just got to like to see when guys get an opportunity. You don't like sitting out, and you really have that self-examination. You look in the mirror, and how am I playing, and why am I not in the lineup? And you know, you can have your coaches tell you a whole bunch of reasons why you're not in there, or it could be as simple as, well, we're giving other guys an opportunity. Do your work in practice, which they don't have a ton of because they're playing just about every other day.
Neal on the doorstep, and Rask finds the puck
And now it's about consistency. Play the full 60. There was one of the topics at the top of the broadcast. He's got his good legs going. He's physical. He's making good decisions. And he's getting an opportunity really to play the left side, which he's far more comfortable, whether he tells you that or not, because you just want to be in a lineup. I'll play anywhere. But he's a left winger by trade, and I just, you like guys that get an opportunity after they've sat out to respond. Some players, they don't get sat out, but they get moved off a line. You get a result from Marchand last game because they took apart the Bergeron line. Riley Smith had a pretty strong effort in Buffalo, especially the second half of the game. Why? He got moved off a line that he was really comfortable in. So you get players a little bit uncomfortable. You get their attention with subtle messages, some not so subtle. And when you get results, you got to admire that.
It's going to be hard to take him out of the lineup. He's got 5 shots on goal and 2 goals. He's been the most productive offensive player for either team so far tonight. And a Seidenberg shepherding Kyle Turris away from the goal mouth. Curtis Lazar wearing number 27 against Gregory Campbell. Paille pursuing against Phillips. Phillips keeps body position, but Gagne's anticipating. Greiva keeps Gagne from getting to the puck. Lazar quickly out of the zone. Smith Stone can't catch it on the blind backhand. Greiva, Hoffman's offside, and the play dies at the Boston line.
See the Bruins take the ice during the 2014-15 season, presented by the Massachusetts State Lottery. Tickets and suite rentals for all November home games are available now, including Tuesday's game against Sean Thornton and the Florida Panthers. To purchase tickets or rent a suite, visit bostonbruins.com or use the Bruins mobile app.
Bruins with a 2-minute, 35-second zone time advantage in the second period alone against Ottawa. This will go for icing.
And the period didn't start well.
No.
They were turning the puck over 4, 5, 6 times, just kind of no real purpose to where they were laying the puck or decision making or just allowing the Senators to get their sticks in there. There had to be some kind of conversation on the bench amongst players, coaches saying, hey, let's knock it off right now.
Pretty good response. Rask with a kick save to deny Zibanejad coming out of the circle. Almost a turnover inside the defensive line in the middle of the ice. That won't look good in the film session. Chiasson. Morrow angling him, and Griffith sends it around. Phillips waiting for it. It goes off Kelly's stick, up and out of play. McQuaid and McCulloch, as tempers begin to rise.
We're getting penalty or penalties. Looks like it's going to be Chiasson, isn't it? For a slash. The Bruins going to go on the power play. They're moving this faceoff into the offensive zone.
Yep.
It's just got to be a Bruin man advantage.
Well, Alex Chiasson is a guy who doesn't mind getting under his opponent's skin. He's a physical player. He's a big kid. He's got some speed. He's got a scoring touch as well. But right now, he's got a seat.
See if we can get a look at it. Battles down low. Chop to the back of the leg of Morrow, right in front of the official. The arm went up. He'll go for a slash. You hope it's about lessons learned. Bruins looking to extend the 3-1 lead.
Hamilton's shot. Bergeron takes it out of the pile, but can't get it on goal. Zach Smith hammers it off the glass down the length of the ice. Power play brought to you by your New England Mazda dealers. Bruins are just 1 for 2 trying to extend the lead at home. Well, 1 for 3 if you include tonight's 0 for 1.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the 3-1 lead against the Wild to start the third period and the disaster that final 20 minutes was. Well, the Bruins end up getting no points. Well, here they are, late period 2, 3-1 lead again. Lessons learned. You'd like to see the Bruins respond a little differently than they did against the Wild.
Smith, Hamilton, Bergeron, Eriksson, and Soderberg, the 5 skaters for Claude Julien. Bergeron takes it up Phillips' side. The shot into the chest of Robin Leonard, and an attacking zone faceoff.
Little stop-back move by Bergeron. The coaches will tell you, hey, if you can score off the rush on the power play, give it a shot. You don't have to get into that setup. And Bergeron knows anytime you get a face-off in the offensive zone and he's taking it, and you got the man advantage, it's not a bad play.
And he wins it from Legwand. Smith to Hamilton, the tap back to Smith. A lot of pressure from Legwand out high. Soderberg can't find it as he comes around his left side. And Smith back to retrieve. Riley Smith 1 against 4, draws the pressure. Griffith chops the puck through the corner. Marchand with speed picks it up and brings it around for Warsofsky. Dances away from Legwand. The shot saved. Juicy rebound. And Ceci spanks it out of trouble.
Before Griffith could get there. Griffith was out by the dot. He was sniffing the rebound, just couldn't get close enough to it.
Hamilton tumbles it to the corner. Lucic cracks it around. Trotman, who has an assist tonight. Warsofsky to Griffith. Griffith to Warsofsky. Switches with Trotman. Listen to the names we're speaking here. Here's Marchand coming off the half boards. The shot kick saved by Leonard. Griffith knocks it down. Griffith holds. Cross ice, it hops over Warsofsky's stick. Lucic back of the goal, touches it along to Griffith. Griffith moves it back to Trotman. Trotman's blast save Leonard. Lucic jams it loose and shoves it to the sideboards. Bruins with good zone time. Trotman digs it out of his skates. Warsofsky turns the stick. Down for Marchand. Lucic parked in front. Sizzling pass across for Griffith. The penalty is expired here in the final minute of the second period. 2 shots on goal for the Bruins on the man advantage. They haven't left the zone yet. Here's Griffith finding an opening, and he fires it wide. All of a sudden, the red and white sea parted.
Yeah, it was both Chiasson and Stone that both went for that little fake drop pass by Griffith.
25 seconds to go in the second. Seidenberg patient with the puck. Up the middle to Campbell, who showed for the pass. Campbell nudges it past Phillips. Final 10 seconds of the period. Phillips around for Carlson. Whacks it up the boards to Zibanejad with 4 seconds to go. Hoffman. McQuaid cuts him off. And the siren sounds. 2-goal explosion from a rookie. And it's making a difference for Boston.
That's a perfect way to phrase it, making a difference. Matt Fraser, strong period, getting an opportunity back in the lineup. Krejci out, next guy up, be productive, do your job. Bruins started the period a little sloppy, but finished it strong over the last 12, 13 minutes.
Purchase a raffle ticket for your chance to win 2 sweet tickets and a Zamboni ride for Tuesday's game when the Bruins take on the Florida Panthers here at TD Garden. Raffle tickets are just $5, and all proceeds will help benefit the Boston Bruins Foundation. To purchase a raffle ticket, visit BruinsRaffles.org. 3-1 Bruins as we get set for the third period alongside Andy Brickley with Garen Austin at ice level and our Nesson production crew. I'm Jack Edwards. The Bruins recovered from a bit of a shaky start in the second period to play much stronger hockey down the stretch and getting a couple from Matt Fraser, who is the subject of the key play, brought to you by your New England Audi dealers.
Well, if you want to be back in the lineup and certainly stay there for an extended period of time, you play like this. You bring the skating game. He's comfortable on that left side. It's not fourth line duty. He's playing with some guys that have some offensive instincts, or maybe a little bit more than other guys that he might have played with prior to this point. But it's really about Fraser bringing that skating game. He's finding the open ice, creating open ice, involved on the forecheck, the back check. When you skate, Jack, it's no coincidence that your game starts to fall into place.
Game summary brought to you by your New England Chevy dealers. 2-5 on the sweater there. And, you know, my memory might be fogged up through the years, but when you finally got a chance to play college hockey, didn't you have 2 and 5 the first game you had?
I did.
Yeah, 2 goals and 5 assists at UNH. It was hard to get that guy Brickley out of the lineup after that. Hey, you know what? You score, you play, right? Matt Fraser knows that. There's no way he's coming out of the lineup for the next game. Zibanejad wins the faceoff against Carl Soderberg. The Bruins looking for a much stronger third period than the one they suffered at the hands of the Minnesota Wild. Morrow goes D-to-D to McQuaid. Off the boards past Louis Eriksson and the length of the ice. And the faceoff back down to the Boston A. Well, in the autopsy of that game, the Minnesota collapse, very notable on the first shift, as you pointed out, Mikko Koivu and Zach Parise came out and skated like the wind and hit everything in their path. Weirkosh fires it off the end boards. Legwand holds it, fires to the dot. Cody Ceci, and how did Tuukka Rask see that? We got a tussle in front, and no surprise that it's Chris Neil involved in this one.
And Adam McQuaid.
Yep. My math was a little bit off, by the way. I said that Neil was playing his 81st game against Boston, and it's actually his 67th.
Well, it's a face-off win by the Ottawa Senators. Soderberg's not going to win the draw. The shot is wide on the short side. Legwand gets back to it. Left side of your screen. Soderberg stepped on the stick of Tuukka Rask, trying to figure out the coverage. And then the exchange between McQuaid and Neil. A little bit of Joe Morrow, but mostly McQuaid and Neil. No surprise, as you point out, Jack. But Tuukka Rask able to track that puck through traffic and just smother it.
180 penalty minutes in his career against Boston alone for Chris Neil. Sens have scored 13 third period goals in 9 games. Only a few teams have scored more. Warsofsky wraps the puck off the wall. Lucic draws the attention and gives to Griffith. Flies up against Turris, a center. Can't pull it underneath the crossbar. Trotman dribbles it to the circle. Patrick Weirkosh, an attack-minded defenseman, sends it off Trotman's stick, and it tumbles to Warsofsky's corner. Gets away from Zach Smith, but has Turris in his path. Kelly slides the puck to space. Carlson, the defenseman, jumps down, makes a beautiful pass to Griffith. Wrong color sweater. Griffith off the boards. He gets dumped, and no icing rule.
The Griffith chance just prior to this Bruins just jumping in and into the Ottawa zone when he came up that left wing side of the ice was good board work by Lucic.
Carlson weaves his way out. Now gives to Phillips. The pass into Bobby Ryan skates. Hamilton takes the hit to move the puck. Riley Smith deflects it forward off his skate. Fires on Leonard. It's loose behind him. Gets scraped off the line. Marchand to Seidenberg. And Ryan pops it out of the zone. That one nearly had enough on it to worm across the line. Bergeron. Marchand looking for Bergeron in front. Carlson can't get rid of it. Seidenberg scores! Carlson's been on the ice for all 4 Boston goals tonight. He's -4. The Bruins 5-on-5 play at home is coming through.
Yeah, and it was Carlson that got burned on the chance by Riley Smith. He was sneaking forward in the neutral zone when Smith walked around him. Okay, he pulled the puck off the goal line to save a potential goal. But he's going to get bothered by Bergeron here and just hand this puck on a platter to Seidenberg. And again, Bergeron with the net front presence. And the drive by Seidenberg is a bullet glove side. This period definitely not starting the way the third period started against the Wild.
Seidenberg's first goal in 19 games. And it expands the Bruins lead to 3. Lazar has trouble getting out of the zone. Look at the energy level from the Bruins and their desire to win the puck. You wonder if there was even the need to send the message. The players were delivering it to themselves.
You got to think there was a message sent, though, early in that second period, Jack, the way they started with a bunch of turnovers. It didn't last long, but it was certainly prevalent. The first 4 or 5 minutes. And once they started managing the puck better, they've been the better team.
Cody Ceci wheeling it over to Weirkosh. Ceci flips the backhand to Shiasan. The long shot. Rask steers the rebound of the end boards, but Shiasan takes it right back. Gives to Wierkosz. The puck explodes on him. He keeps it on the line. McCulloch in the corner. The puck on edge. Shiasan comes through. Morrow bangs him. Soderberg up the wall. Ceci off the stick of Fraser, and it dies for Soderberg. Zibanejad fans on the first attempt. Ceci on the diagonal fires it over Shiasan's reach. McQuaid to Morrow. The Bruins changing out their forwards. The long pass to Lucic. Lucic and Phillips to the corner. Karlsson swipes it through the corner and hops up for Turris. Turris breaks on Seidenberg's side. Rask steers the rebound to the corner. Hamilton. MacArthur. Bergeron touches the puck away from MacArthur. Turris off the boards, picks it up himself off Marchand's skates, and he swivels it all the way around to Phillips. Phillips can't get it past Hamilton. Hamilton taps the backhand to the empty side. Turris pulls it away from Marchand. Now Phillips going intentionally wide. Seidenberg off glass. Marchand uses the body against Karlsson, and that helps get the puck out of the zone. Bobby Ryan with a swoop to the inside against Smith. Both teams look for a change. Seidenberg has Kelly on the right. Now Hamilton fires all the way past Lucic. No icing here. Kelly bounces it loose. Trotman makes the smart play, just hammering it past Stone. Hoffman drops it off to Greiba. Lazar cocks and fires, stick save. Rask off the near glass. Cowan risks it off the corner boards. It won't bounce in front for him. Lucic lifts it past Lazar. Trotman with a man on his back. Cowan's drive goes wide on the glove side of Ottawa, firing a lot of rubber. And Rask making the saves he's expected to make. Kelly spoons the backhand to the corner. Lazar drops for Greiba. Forwards changing out for Ottawa. David Legwand swings to the right as Jared Cowan has some space. The Bruins dropping back into the neutral zone. Greiba carries to the red line. Rask stops the puck on the end boards, has a little trouble with it at the edge of the trapezoid, but gets it out to Gagne. Wing to Paille, 2 against 3. Paille working against Wierkosz. McQuaid coming forward. Neal sidesteps his check. Familiar foes. Neal drops it off the boards to Zach Smith. Paille pokes it loose. 3-on-2 for the Bruins. Legwand trying to get back. Gagne holds high slot. Rifles it off the leg, and it caroms up and out of play.
Well, right before the Seidenberg goal, we talked about Karlsson, where he plays this game, moving forward in the neutral zone. That's not good angling. He allows Smith to get to the outside. Leonard's got to make a stop. That puck gets through him, almost like the Marchand goal off the face-off win. And then Karlsson trying to protect the front of the net, maybe make a play. He's bothered by Bergeron on the turnover and the bomb by Seidenberg.
Soderberg wins the draw from Zibanejad. Seidenberg to Eriksson, and Leonard grabs it right over the top of his mask. David Krejci was a late scratch just before this evening's game. And Matt Fraser has come in to be a large part of this story. Soderberg shielding the puck from Zibanejad, who tries to ram into the corner. Soderberg A-frames and just creates space. Zibanejad angles him off this time. Phillips, Karlsson under McCulloch's stick. It bounces forward of Chiasson. McCulloch the drive with Rask scrambling to get back in position. Karlsson the slap pass along the line to Phillips along the ice, and Rask scoops it up. 13:36 to go in the game. It's 4-1 because of Sherman Engineering. Yeah.
Join all three of us right here after the game for Ace Ticket Bruins Overtime Live.
Now another big third period for the Bruins as they look to make a statement early on in the season.
And we'll preview the next game in town here is Florida. That means old buddy Sean Thornton's coming back to town.
Jack and Rick will talk to Claude Julien as well. Ace Ticket Bruins Overtime Live after the game.
Gentlemen, thank you. And Claude has been straight ahead through a difficult time for the Bruins. He has not minced words. He has not made excuses. Always interesting, and we're grateful that he'll join us after each game for that interaction. Marchand tries to bang the puck past Turris. Turris wiggles it to the corner. Seidenberg tries to move it along. Marchand tips over Turris. Seidenberg quickly takes it out of the right side of the defensive zone. Hard around into the attacking end. Bergeron gets the skates on it. Carlson chips forward to Ceci. Flips it through. Phillips. Now Seidenberg steers it past Ryan, who finishes his check. Marchand. Wierkosh pokes the puck away. Retrieves it in the corner. Carlson right in front of his own goal to Mike Hoffman. Hoffman headmans the puck. Gets it back from Stone. Oh, he got a lot on that one, but it was over the wrist side. Here comes Hoffman again, trying to step in front. And Riley Smith lifts it into the Boston bench.
Old-fashioned wrister from the slot.
Yeah.
The TD Bank Community Clubhouse and the Boston Bruins would like to welcome presentation of Mary Academy to tonight's game. At TD Bank, they're committed to supporting the communities we serve by making a difference together.
Rick, how has the composite stick changed the wrist shot?
It's added some velocity.
I mean, you can actually see with the naked eye. You don't even need the super slow-mo. There's Lazar's snapshot. McQuaid gets in front of that. But you can actually see the stick deflect, the shaft of the stick. Wierkosh's bomb and a save by Rask in net front traffic. And he glares over at Steve Kazari, the referee in the corner.
Probably saying, how did I end up on my knees having to make a glove save here? I'm not sure if the replay will show us exactly why, but there's always all kinds of contact getting towards the goaltender. But I don't think there was anything there.
No.
It's just an awkward-looking save.
Maybe they got a running joke going. I don't know. Cowan's wrist shot, and Rask sees that. Well, shoot, shoot some more. That's what Ottawa is doing. Only Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, and the Rangers have scored more third period goals than Ottawa, so they're used to ramping up the offense, or the offense as they call it north of the border. Zach Smith with the hit, loosening the puck. Kelly just jamming the puck against the wall. Legwand stabs it free. Griffith steps in. Kelly controls, dribbles it to the blue line, but not out. Greiva. Rask lets it run through the corner all the way to the Zamboni doors, and Lucic drops for Griffith. Back to Lucic, hits the brakes, finds Kelly, tries to lead Warsofsky, and Neal makes the self-pass off the end board.
Just didn't lead him enough.
Neal working against McQuaid. How'd he do? That's 3 times his career. Rask gives it away to Lazar right in front. It's an emergency. Warsofsky, McQuaid, and Kelly all descending on the slot as the Bruins got a little adventurous in their own end.
Yeah, I think Rask got it with the right pad. Chuk has made a number of really good passes on the breakout tonight, but this one's going to get picked off. The quick play back to the front of the net. Chance for Hoffman. Tuukka going to explode left to right, get that right pad down on the ice to make the stop. Bad turnover, quick recovery.
Wade going belly flopping across just to try to occupy some space between the puck and the goal. Simon Gagne right in front. And Eriksson off the post and out. Or rather, Paille, pardon me. Well, how many almosts tonight in addition to the 4 goals they've scored?
Well, it's a good face-off win, and Gagne's on the inside hash mark. He comes through the circle and picks it up on the backhand. When you have 2 players trying to put pressure on you, maybe you have somebody open on a mismatch. Pai got inside position at the top of the crease on the redirect. Leonard able to keep it out.
Bergeron kicks the face-off back to Seidenberg to Hamilton off the boards. Bergeron battling Turris every inch of the ice. And that helps Marchand come out of the corner with the puck. Marchand whips it past Bergeron. Ryan turns. There's Smith on the diagonal off the boards to Bergeron, but he couldn't get it middle. Bobby Ryan and Kyle Turris gains the Boston line. Clark MacArthur through Smith, walks in the shot off of Hamilton, who's down to a knee to take it in the chest. Ryan backs along the line, the wrist shot. Soderberg on the block. Turris tips Seidenberg over, getting the leverage on him. Now stabs at the puck that's underneath Seidenberg. Hamilton gets turned head over T-Kettle. And yes, that's going to be holding on Clark MacArthur.
Really didn't see a change of possession here, though, did you?
No.
Either way, the whistle's going to go. The battle, Hamilton's going to get good position. Seidenberg gets knocked down. Soderberg's there to lend support. His good inside position by Hamilton on MacArthur. Well, I guess Ottawa touched the puck in that sequence. But anyway, Bruins on the power play. Make it 5-1. Trotman and Warsofsky getting first crack with the man advantage on the back end.
Legwand gets thrown out of the face-off against Lucic as the crowd responds to the prompt on the HDX center ice display. Legwand skips it in on Rask. And Rask has to take a face-off and gets cooled off on a nice little snow shower from David Legwand. Tuukka Rask is as accountable as any player on this Bruins team, and took it upon himself to trim up the fundamentals of his game. Marchand taps back to Warsofsky. Sends Lucic ahead against McCauley. Lucic cross corner. Off the glass, Phillips turns, gets it to the point, but not out. Trotman taps back down the boards. Phillips can't get it past Trotman a second time. Third time's a charm. About a minute and a half to go in the Boston power play. Warsofsky has Lucic on the left. Griffith drops to Trotman. Warsofsky switching with Trotman. He's got Marchand rotating back to the point. Lucic, the man in front, cross ice. Griffith tries to tap it through to Lucic. No go. Lazar works it up Trotman's side of the ice. Trotman plays the body. Warsofsky tries to pull it away from Stone. Stone goes to work, but here's Bergeron to take it away. Patrice Bergeron to Louis Eriksson. Drops to Bergeron. Can't control the puck. Eriksson swipes at it and gets it inside the Ottawa zone. Bruins a little bit sloppy on the power play here.
Yeah, and it started with a really Lucic cross-corner dump. I mean, that cross-corner is going to go right to Phillips, and even though he doesn't get out initially, Bruins really don't get into the set.
Bergeron flipping it to space. Eriksson can't quite catch up to it, and Leonard will take the face-off.
Well, the idea was good, similar to the Soderberg pass to Fraser that led to Fraser's second goal, the Bruins' third of the night. Bergeron trying to lay that out to Eriksson, just got a little too much on it.
Smith and Hamilton out at the blue line. Bergeron to take the face-off against Kyle Turris. Cowan with the clear. Dougie Hamilton wrists it, rides the dasher. Gryba. Trouble from Soderberg, but he gets it through the seam to Lazar. Cowan off Legwand's stick. Soderberg taps back. Final 5 seconds of the power play. Bruins 0 for 3 on the power play now tonight, and 2 of those power plays have had no shots on goal. Seidenberg gets an attacking zone faceoff out of this. 4-1 for Boston over the Ottawa Sens.
At 6:30, join Dale and Barry when WB Mason presents Bruins Face Off Live. They'll look at the matchup with the Panthers. See how Florida hockey is treating old friend Sean Thornton, and have all the latest from around the NHL. Join us before the drop of the puck Tuesday at 6:30.
Well, that will be a special moment. Thornton on and off the ice, so much a part of Boston for the last few years. Marchand pulls it out of Carlson's skates, tries to feed Bergeron. Hamilton, eye high, Gagne. Bergeron whips it wide on the glove side. Seidenberg wrists the puck around. Marchand taps over to Seidenberg with Bergeron rotating back to the left point. Gagne, low for Marchand, goes right to the post. And a save by Leonard.
Bruins pretty much doing what they want here on this shift. Ottawa pretty passive in their coverage down low. Seidenberg stayed down deep. They 2-on-1. Carlson, quick lane to the net. Phillips is trying to protect the front of the net. Do I go play the puck carrier and vacate the slot? Carlson a little late on coverage. Even the pressure on the Senators and taking minutes off the clock, spending time in the offensive zone.
Kelly and Zibanejad on the faceoff. Weirkosh to Ceci. Lucic takes the body. Griffith takes the puck and fires it off Ceci's skates. Griffith swats it to Lucic. Lucic coming out of the corner. Brings it to McQuaid along the line to Morrow. The wrist shot. Ceci with the block. Ceci up ahead. Hops over Chiasson's stick. Ceci gets it back. Now McCulloch slides to Ceci. Tries to split the seam, and McQuaid throws it to the corner. Adam McQuaid catches the puck out of the air and deadens it. Griffith takes a big hit from Chiasson. Ceci dumps in and Ottawa changes out. Less than 7 minutes to go as the Bruins are up 3 against the Ottawa Senators. Cowan and Campbell stack up against the end board. Lazar. Gagne caves him in. Gryba and Campbell to the far corner. Campbell wins the puck battle. Gryba wins. Campbell wins another puck battle against Gryba. Trotman fires on Leonard. He sticks it out. Gryba tips the backhand across. Stone to Lazar, trying to feed it to Hoffman. Lazar stays with it. Sets his edges. Trotman rides him into the end boards. Lazar squirts it to the far corner. Carlson, the defenseman, all the way up there. Warsofsky leaves it. Little, I got it, you take it. Gagne and Trotman having a little confusion there. Hoffman gets off a shot, and Rask gets tested as the Bruins have a few moments of sloppiness in their own end of the ice. Paille tries to calm things down, knocks it off the wall and out.
And that deflected puck came up and caught leg one right up in the face.
Looks like he's going to the far door and right down the tunnel for repairs. Phillips to Carlson, the diagonal to Turris. Zach Smith on the net drive, but Trotman sticks it away. Fraser off glass and out. Weirkosh. Ottawa with a surge of energy here. The Bruins need to answer. Zach Smith, the short pass to Turris, 1 against 3. Seidenberg plays the body, and Rask takes the sliding puck. 5:07 remaining in the game. Ottawa trying to stir things up, but the Bruins keeping them at bay. The game report brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. Brick, there have been a couple of dicey moments, but on the whole, 55 minutes of a pretty professional effort.
Yeah, and it started with a face-off win in the first period that led to the first goal of the game. Brad Marchand, that's all important, too. You want to get the lead on Ottawa and make them have to play from behind, even though they're pretty good at it. Matt Fraser getting an opportunity tonight to play the more comfortable side, the left wing position, with two guys that have real good offensive chemistry in Soderberg and Eriksson. Soderberg with a pair of assists tonight, but 2 goals by Matt Fraser, who looks like he wants to be a keeper in the Bruins lineup in the absence of David Krejci tonight. And then the Bruins with hopefully some lessons learned in the previous loss here to the Minnesota Wild with a bad third period. With a similar 3-1 lead, they've extended it on the Seidenberg goal.
The man who won that. Here's Rask with a save off of MacArthur. The man who won that faceoff leading to the Marchand goal. Patrice Bergeron is now 18-5 on faceoffs. That's somewhere close to 80%. Rask paddles the puck to Hamilton. Hamilton changes the grip and steers it over to Bergeron. Smith tries to cut inside, and Ryan, who has been very physical tonight, dumps him. MacArthur tries to flatten the puck, which insists on being on edge. Hamilton with 4.5 to go. Goes D to D. Seidenberg can't control it with the skate, so he shoves down MacArthur. Chiasson feeds it forward to Zibanejad. He digs and scores! Mika Zibanejad roofs it, and there's still plenty of time. 4:17 to go, and the Sens are back within 2 at 4-2.
Costly turnover. About 15-20 feet inside your blue line, and a quick counterattack by the Ottawa Senators. Bruins are in pretty good shape right here. Lucic tries to pull it backhand and flip it out. That doesn't work. Chiasson's in good position. Seidenberg was over by the boards beyond the tops of the circle. Hamilton's moving out because it's a possession play. Zibanejad gets open behind the Bruins 5-man unit when that puck gets turned over. Zibanejad able to create the turnover, explode to the net, get the return pass from Chiasson. Nice move to the backhand. A lot of leverage.
4 minutes to go. The Bruins need to tilt the ice a little bit. Ottawa's had a surge of energy. Joe Morrow around the corner. And Kelly kicks the puck forward to Seth Griffith. Between the stick and the skates to Lucic, gets it back. Griffith for Lucic, driving to the goal. Couldn't tip it inside the post.
Yeah, good job not to run over Leonard. That would have been a minor penalty.
Lucic took the front of that collision, going hammering into the end board. Mark Stone flips to McQuaid's corner. McQuaid throws the shoulders. Stone tries to win the puck back. Gagne there in support. And Griffith works it to the red line. He flicks it down to the corner. Campbell in pursuit. Weirkosh around to Karlsson. Karlsson snaps the indirect pass to Stone. Orsovsky wheels it back of his own goal. Trotman poking it ahead. And Gagne snaps it out. Stone, a forward, gives back to Ceci and then gets the return, but this pass deflects. Gagne closing with Paille in front, can't get it through Ceci. Ceci off the boards. Hoffman to Lazar. Orsovsky plays the body. Trotman takes the puck. Good tandem D by the pair. Less than 3 minutes to go. Trotman the diagonal through the Boston defensive zone. Fraser hoists it up through the neutral zone. Cowan. Soderberg with the extension of the stick to prevent Ryan from getting the puck, but the Bruins turn it over again. Eriksson steals off MacArthur. Soderberg getting underneath Gryba, pulls up short of the boards, and Eriksson swoops in for the puck. Seidenberg knocks it off the corner board. Gryba for Bobby Ryan. Fraser gets it in front, and Eriksson can't control the backhand. Fraser absorbing the hit from Cowan. A clever move by Eriksson to cut it past the post and try to stuff it in the short side.
And all this possession by Boston really started with a simple stick possession steal by Eriksson in neutral zone. And not only did you get opportunities, you take so much time off the clock, and you don't have to play defense.
Here's Marchand going right toward goal. Can't sneak it over the shoulder and under the bar. McQuaid wraps the puck in deep. The Bruins winning a lot of 50-50s now. A good response after giving up the 4-2 goal. Rakalik on the boards. Here's Bergeron going after Gryba, finishing his check. Zibanejad. Marchand with the steal. The Bruins in the middle of a change. Marchand's going 1 against 5, just the way he likes it. McQuaid loops it down to the corner. Minute and 20 to go. We'll look for Leonard to make his break to the Ottawa bench. Kelly steals, and what a smart play. Knew it wasn't there. Instead of going 1-on-3 or waiting a shot in on Leonard. There's a center from Lucic. Eriksson gets a stick across the schnoz. And there will be a face-off of the Ottawa zone.
Tonight, following the post-game show, get the latest with Nessa Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank. Jameson and Nicky will have more on the Senators and Bruins. Check in on the Celtics down in Houston and preview tomorrow's big matchup in Foxborough. Get all you need to know tonight following Bruins coverage.
Kelly.
Chris Kelly, just so responsible, good layers, and then a good decision. I'm in trouble here if I turn this puck over, even though we're a long way from our own end. Why even have it be a possibility? Chip it in deep, keep the pressure on, keep the puck away from your own end.
Final minute of play. Clark MacArthur at the red line. Good stick position from Eriksson, but it comes to Turris. The shot goes off of Seidenberg, sliding across the circle, deflecting wide of the goal. MacArthur quickly to Carlson. The long wrist shot wide. Leonard's out of the goal, 6 skating against 5 with an empty net. Kelly ahead to Lucic, pulls it back, throws it to space. Eriksson can't catch up to it. Carlson swoops away from it. Erik Karlsson to Clark MacArthur. Bobby Ryan pounds it down into the corner. Seidenberg takes the hit from MacArthur. Turris turning away from Lucic. Wiercioch holds. The Ottawa net empty with 20 seconds to go. Turris into the middle. Rask makes the save on Ryan's backhand. Save of the game brought to you by Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you? 0-0 first period. Cody Ceci.
He's teeing one up from about 45 feet with a little bit of traffic. But Tuukka Rask tracks it well. Makes an athletic move to his right, fully extended blocker, right pad, right side of the body.
Ceci, another one of those first-round picks playing for the Ottawa Senators, number 15 overall in 2012. The Bruins used their timeout here. Just a clean finish. Matt Fraser, big story of this game. He busted it open when it was 1-1. 2 in a minute and 28.
Yeah, his first one, he was really coming off the Bruin bench. There was a nice stick position steal by Louis Eriksson. And a heads-up play by Soderberg to stop in a good spot. Put it right back on goal. The rebound was there for Fraser coming off the bench. The second Fraser goal was Carlson sniffing. Probably should have made the steal on the pass by Trotman on the breakout by Boston when went from the right corner of the rink up to the left wing boards to Soderberg. But it was Soderberg who laid a perfect pass to allow Fraser to come across the ice and jump on that loose pass on a 2-on-1 and let the Fraser snapshot go.
Fraser out to block the shot. Final 10 seconds. Fraser doesn't quite have a chance at it with the open net at the other end. What a response from the Boston Bruins. 4-2 the final over Ottawa.
I really think the key point in the hockey game, Jack, was about 6 or 7 minutes, or maybe 5 minutes into that second period. Just a whole bunch of turnovers by Boston. And you thought maybe that had something to do with the late goal by Stone that made it 1-1 coming in the final minute of that first period. Not a good start to the second, but they righted the ship right around that point in the hockey game, and they were by far the better team from that point on.
The Bruins in the early stages of redemption and making this a tough place to play. Tonight, they got the 2 points with a thorough victory, Dale.
Just what the doctor ordered, Jack. The Boston Bruins beat the Ottawa Senators by a final of 4-2. Coming up on Ace Ticket, Bruins Overtime Live. Bruins with a strong finish. We'll talk about a key goal early in the third period that might have been the difference in this one. Jack and Brick will talk with Claude Julien. And we get ready for Tuesday's game here at the Garden. Shawn Thornton will be back in the building. Ace Ticket, Bruins Overtime Live is coming up next.